Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Live from Sherwood Forest in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, Hour 1 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. I am your lovable, huggable, mid-morning chat host, Eric Von Haessler. The Doctrinaires are here. Tim Andrews, Autumn Fisher, Jared Yamamoto.
Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, sir. Now, of course, we will very soon pivot to the story that everyone's talking about. Of course, I mean that new Downton Abbey movie.
Oh, yeah,
everybody is. Everyone I know is just a buzz. Kind of a slow news day, but we'll get to whatever's in the news. That voice you heard there was Mark Aram, who I've invited to come in to join the show very early here because we're on a mission together, right? We're on a mission together.
We're on a mission, and it's all about wishing.
We're on a wishing mission. And you came to me the other day with a pair of broken headphones.
Yes.
I didn't quite understand
You want the backstory?
Yeah.
All right, so I've been at WSB for 22 years, and amazingly, I've only had 2 sets of headphones in those 22 years.
If people aren't in the industry, that is amazing because just by rolling them up and putting them away, you tend to fray the wiring I go through a pair every 3 years.
And never mind, the thieves, too. Like, people steal headphones.
Yeah,
so
radio people are not the best people in the
It was
world.
exactly right. So my second set of headphones broke last week, right as I was on the air, and they're irreparable. Alan Hunt, in fact, threw them in the garbage can.
Well, that's if Alan Hunt throws it away.
He said, "These aren't going to work anymore." Boom, in the garbage can. And then I thought
Is that
about
what you
it.
said, Alan?
We're not headphones.
But I was like kind of misty-eyed because those headphones I had worn, I was on the air when Barack Obama was elected president. I called the election on these airwaves. When President Trump was elected, I had those headphones on. I wore them during Snowmageddon, the Great Flood. I mean, every big breaking news story.
These headphones have been through breaking news history.
Yes, so I fished him out of the recycling bin that Alan Hunt threw him in there because he does recycle.
That's
Alan.
good.
I'll give you that much.
Yeah, I like recycling. I recycle my garbage cans.
So I said, these are historic. This is a piece of WSB history. I don't want to throw them away, but I'm also a hoarder, and I didn't want to keep them.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea to get all the WSB radio hosts to sign them. You, Scott Slade, Clark Howard, Eric Erickson, and myself. So we got a silver Sharpie, and I gave you what we call the sweet spot
Yeah,
on
I'm
the
right
baseball.
there across. I've got a long name though, so
Exactly.
yeah, I need space.
Really long. Can I just call you EVH?
Thank you. It's too long.
Haessler.
So we all signed them, and I put it up for auction on eBay with the donations, with the purchase going to charity. And eBay limits you on what charities you can choose.
You chose the Humane
Society because we all like animals.
Yeah.
So it's up there for auction until Friday afternoon, I believe.
At 5:51 p.m.
5:51 p.m. So if you want to get on there and own a piece of WSB history and the John Hancocks of the 5 big hosts here on WSB.
And help out the Humane Society.
Boom. You've got a couple more days to bid on
This has
them.
got to go up. So I'm not an eBay guy. So what do you type in? Aram? Or you go to eBay? And
You can type in Eric Von Haessler or probably just shorter WSB Radio.
okay, and then they'll come up.
It'll pop up. Usually it should be the first item that pops up.
Because it's at $202 right now, and I got to
Yes.
tell you something, Mark Aram. That offends me. That
Really?
offends me. Yeah, these things got to go for. There's somebody listening to us right now who loves animals, loves WSB, would give. When you talk about big donations for something like this,
Yeah.
just like, what we're saying is, hey, if you love animals and you're the type of person that was going to give money to the Humane Society, well, look, this is like the PBS tote bag. This is something extra, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not. If you give $500 or $1,000, you're not actually saying these headphones are worth that. You're saying, I love animals. I want to give the Humane Society. I love WSB.
Yeah.
What a great little tote bag. I get these historic headphones with everybody signing.
Yeah, it's a one-of-a-kind item. But with eBay, and I think Tim knows this, so with eBay, there's a lot of last-minute bid sniping. So, for example, the other day I was bidding on a baseball card for my collection on eBay.
Yeah,
and
it really says something about you, but I'm not going to go into that.
With
Go
5
ahead.
minutes left, the bid was at $25. With 5 minutes left in the auction, and I bid $100 on it. I'm like, I need this card. Blah,
You
blah,
want
blah.
that card?
It wound up selling for $1,700. So in the last 5 minutes, the bidding went from $25 to $1,700. So I'm hoping that will be the case with.
Well, look, I don't care when it happens, but these things aren't walking out the door for $202. These historic headphones. So
excuse me, I have a question for the panel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, it's for Mark Aaron.
Yes, Mark
Hey,
Aaron.
Mark,
Right
you got any more garbage you're gonna be selling?
It's got a new. It's a cottage. Just have everybody sign his garbage.
Yeah, man.
But you raise all kinds of money for charity. It's brilliant.
I've got a storage room, aka an office, and I'm going to go back there. I've got a lot of WSB memorabilia. I will.
Side hustle time.
Yeah.
I'm about to post this on our Facebook page right now. So just to confirm, Eric, you, Mark, Scott Slade, Clark Howard, and Eric Erickson have all signed these headphones, right?
And yeah, exactly right. There'll be 5 signatures on this puppy.
Very good. It's going live on our Facebook page right now. Von Haessler Doctrine.
How old are you?
45.
45 years of age.
Yes.
And you really wanted that $1,000 for a baseball card.
No, I bid 100.
100. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
It's still same thing. $100.
Yeah.
For a baseball card.
Well, it's worth $1,700. So if I got it for 100, it would have been great.
Well, what's your age again?
I'm not the double nickels. I'm 45.
45 years old.
Your
Okay.
your younger brother.
I like you. You're boy-like. You're kid-like.
sir.
I like that. Mark Aram, this is great for the Humane Society. People need to go bid that up. I'm embarrassed by $202, quite frankly.
Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Mark Aram. All right, let's do this.
Headlines for Wednesday, September 25th.
All right, I hear there's some scuttlebutt.
Yes.
There's some news.
Yes.
Some news out there.
Last night, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced some kind of impeachment inquiry against President Trump.
Yeah, let me hit mine over here because I will say this before I get into everything. When I watched the Nancy Pelosi's little statement, and at first my first reaction was, wow, okay, here we go, because I remember this the last time with Clinton. This takes a long time, big deal. And then I took a breath. I just stepped back a second and thought, what actually happened here? I've come to the conclusion that really nothing happened yesterday.
Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella of impeachment inquiry.
So all of these committees that have been investigating Trump, weren't we all under the impression that they were searching for clues to whether or not they should impeach the whole time? Corey Lewandowski last week, what was that about? Wasn't that an impeachment inquiry? Mueller a couple months ago, wasn't that an impeachment inquiry? So in reality, what she's done is said everything that's been going on by these committees, Schiff, Cummings, Nadler, been in the news every day, people they're having down. So all this stuff that's been going on since they took over the House is still going to go on, except now it's called an official impeachment inquiry. So what changed other than her saying it's all the same, except now we're going to call it this? It's like two things exist apart from one another, like the Summer Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Snickers. Right? They exist. Let's go back to the 80s. The Summer Olympics in America and Snickers. As an American, you knew that the Summer Olympics were coming. Was that 84?
84, Los Angeles.
Okay. And as an American, you couldn't not know what Snickers was. And one day you turn on your TV and they just slap one on the other. Snickers is now the official candy bar of the Summer Olympics. This is what I heard yesterday.
Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella of impeachment inquiry.
She put an umbrella on top of it and called it an impeachment inquiry. Who saw Mueller up there, Lewandowski up there, and didn't already think that this was an impeachment inquiry? So in reality, not a lot happened yesterday. I don't think Pelosi can pull this off. It's pretty obvious that she still doesn't want to go in this direction, but she got so much heat from the AOC part of her caucus that she had to do something. And she's thinking, well, these are dumb millennials. They don't care about results. They just like events. They like moments. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give them a moment that they can cheer for. They don't really understand how this works. And then maybe I can, but I think it's still going to snowball. I mean, once she's opened this up, but in reality, nothing has changed. There's no new committee. She didn't ask for a vote. Impeachment, you vote on articles of impeachment because everybody has to be on the record. Isn't that clever what she did? She didn't force any Democrats to vote for anything or go on the record. She simply said, Snickers is the official candy bar of the Summer Olympics. she said these committees are going to continue doing what they've been doing for over a year, except now it's going to be called an impeachment inquiry. That's really all that. Before we get into all the issues, and there's a lot of stuff to cover on all sides. In fact, nothing new has happened except that it gives CNN and MSNBC, and to some extent Fox News, they'll get in on this as well, a reason to go wall to wall to talk about a story where in reality, the Von Haessler Doctrine is here to help you cut through all the clutter. This is just given a green light for all the news organizations to go wall to wall covering a story that hasn't changed a bit. I mean, the new wrinkle is this latest straw, is the call between Trump and the new president of Ukraine. And we'll know a lot more by this time tomorrow, sometime today, because apparently Trump has asked Ukraine president if it's okay to release the transcript, and the word is it's going to be released, not non-redacted. We're going to see everything. So the whole thing may implode before it even gets started. But even if it doesn't, my guess is there'll be stuff in there like the Mueller report about obstruction of justice.
Do you see how horribly they treat me?
I mean, there'll be. My guess is like everything else, people will argue about what they see in the transcript and argue about whether or not what he says is impeachable. Because Biden's going to come up. He's already admitted that it's going to be in there somewhere. But if most of the country just looks at it as, oh, it's just more Trump bull in the China shop kind of stuff that we're acclimated to, not enough to impeach. If this does keep going this way, the Democrats really have to be careful here, because I'm old enough to remember the last time a president was impeached, Bill Clinton. Similarities between the Republican impeachment of Clinton and the Democrats' pursuit of impeachment of Trump. All right, let's go back to Clinton. X number of Americans voted for Clinton. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but Republicans never accepted him as legitimate. They blamed Ross Perot. They thought H.W. would have been reelected if not for Ross Perot. And they thought of Clinton as a backwater politician that did not deserve the office. They began investigating Clinton immediately. That dragged on through the first term and into the second term. Then they impeached him years later for something that had nothing to do with the initial charges that were being investigated. Now let's go to today. This is a cautionary tale, a warning to Democrats. X number of Americans voted for Trump, but the Dems never accepted him as legitimate. They blamed the Russians, misogyny, xenophobia for the loss. They think of him as a crude businessman who is below their political class and doesn't deserve the office. They began investigating him immediately, and they're about to, if this goes forward, to impeach him for something that had nothing to do with the initial charges that were being investigated. Now, Republicans failed miserably. They impeached Clinton. He wasn't removed from office. And he left D.C. with a very high approval rating, higher than anybody in Congress that had voted to impeach him. Now, I think that may have been because that X number of Americans that voted for Clinton sensed that the Republicans wanted to impeach him from day one and just kept going until they found a reason to do it. And those voters resented that. You've got to be careful. The Republicans got Clinton during his second term. He was done anyway We've never had an impeachment in the first term. Nixon's impeachment proceedings that were going on, he was in his second term. Andrew Johnson, I don't know. This is the same script with a different cast. And the Democrats may suffer that voter backlash leading into an election that becomes a re-election. Because here's the news. Voters don't like it when political elites decide to veto the results of their vote. Especially if this thing really gets going, it won't even really heat up until April or May. We're almost at the end of the Democrat primaries with a nominee at that point, and America's going to go, why don't we just let the people decide?
Warning! Do not chug milk before listening, because you will laugh out loud.
Milk was a bad choice.
Eric and the Doctrinaires, mornings at 9. Mark Aram, evenings at 6 on 95.5 WSB.
To follow up on my opening remarks on the impeachment stuff, and if you missed it, you missed it. I guess you just got to wait for the podcast. We start this thing at 9 o'clock, folks. You got to be here right from the very beginning. So the thing to remember here about impeachment is a political process. It is not a legal process. High crimes and misdemeanors. Basically, it means anything that a majority vote in the House will get. Honestly, if a majority of the House of Representatives votes to impeach you on jaywalking, you're impeached on jaywalking. High crimes and misdemeanors, very wide. Basically, what matters at that time to most people, and if it matters enough for them to vote for impeachment, that's all it is. So it's a purely political process, and you have to remember, we're going into a political year anyway, where the people, you could lay all of this stuff out to the people and leave it up to the people rather than D.C. elites to decide what's going to go on. So don't think that this is, well, it's a legal thing and they have to do it. That's absolutely not true. You have to remember about impeachment. First of all, it's a tool that is becoming abused. All right? We've been around 240 some odd years. 2 presidents have been impeached. Neither of them have been removed. One president was going to be impeached and would have been removed and resigned before it happened. So 240 plus years, you have 2 actual impeachments, and that's 100 years apart. And now we're talking about impeachment again. And let's not forget, there was a big push to try to impeach W for a while that got some steam going. So remember, it's a political process. It's not a legal process, and it's being abused. It's something that should happen once every 100 years or so at the most. I got more to say.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
So I was talking about how just the concept of impeachment is being abused. You get 2 of them in the first 230 some odd years. You can throw in a third that started, but Nixon resigned. And then we get one in, when did they finally impeach Clinton? 98? That was very close to the end of his term.
Yeah.
So we get that one. So the last one, the one before that was Andrew Johnson, 1867, something like that.
1867, that's
Oh,
right.
wow.
Yeah, well, he was the vice president for Lincoln, so he just stepped in.
So he hadn't even been elected yet.
No, he's never been elected. I don't think Andrew Johnson ever ran for presidency. He was the vice president. He ran for vice president. He took over. He got impeached. He was saved by 1 vote in the Senate, and I think he never ran. Ulysses Grant was the Republican nominee and beat Horatio Seymour.
He was good.
A forgotten Democrat. Horatio Seymour, or Seymour Horatio, or something like that. So it's something that was used once in the 1800s. It was used once in the 1900s. And now here we are, just some 20 some odd years later, we're talking about it again. I mean, they're getting the ball rolling, even though I pointed out nothing different happened yesterday. But a media and Democrat caucus ball is rolling now. You got to remember, Nixon resigned because he knew he'd be impeached. And there was there were about 2 months where there was real impeachment talk with the Democrats concerning W, at least, or how it should be done. Even if Republicans were in charge at one point, that we should impeach. This idea of reaching for this. Now, again, people need to understand, Von Haessler Doctrine is here to cut through the clutter. Impeachment is not a legal process. It is a purely political process. It's always political, and it's always decided by politics. Now, what you have to remember is that the reason impeachment shouldn't be used very often is even if you hate the president, whoever the president is, a lot of listeners to this station couldn't stand Barack Obama. Even if you can't stand the person who's president, impeachment should be the last thing in the world. It's the nuclear option, because what you're actually doing is you're taking a handful of political elites and they're basically vetoing the will of the people, which is that this person be president by their votes. It's a big deal. Almost 63 million people in this country voted for Donald Trump. So if you impeach, now here's the thing, there's no chance he's going to be removed. But if just the act of impeaching signals to those 63 million Americans that you're trying to make their vote null and void. And Democrats need to go back, because they were on the good side of this in the 90s, and learn their lesson from what happened with Bill Clinton. Why did Bill Clinton get impeached yet leave office with higher approval ratings than anyone by far who voted to impeach him, and higher approval ratings than probably any other politician in the country? The reason is because in 1992, almost 45 million Americans voted for Bill Clinton. The investigations went on all the way through his first term. Americans were aware of all of the investigations, Whitewater and all that. And in 1996, 47 million Americans voted for Clinton, more than voted for him 4 years earlier. The reason that Clinton left office so popular wasn't because people thought it was a great thing he did with Monica Lewinsky. The reason is because those voters, ultimately, in the end, nearly 50 million voters, felt like Republican elites were trying to take their vote away. We're trying to remove the president that they voted for. This country belongs to you. You vote for people to represent you. The country does not belong to them. It doesn't belong to the people that you vote for. It still belongs to you. They are there to serve you. Sometimes they have to do things because they're privy to more intelligence and things that you may not believe in, but then they have to come back, get reelected, explain themselves, and you have to buy it, and then that's the American way. The American way is not, I disagree and I don't think this guy should be president, so let's move heaven and earth to get him out of there. Because what you're doing is you are punching in the face 63 million Americans. And remember, Democrats, Clinton was done. He was in his second term when this happened. We're in a first term here. And you're talking about an impeachment that's going to be rolling on April. So April of next year is when things would really get really hot if impeachment really started to go about now. So at that point, we almost know who the nominee is for the Democrat Party. So the American people are going to be suspicious of the fact that, wait a minute, you guys were looking for reasons that this guy couldn't even take office. Just like with Clinton. He was never accepted by the political elites. Clinton was not. People forget this. Clinton's known for Lewinsky now, and he's known for having a relatively good presidency. There was a good economy. But people forget the Republicans hated Bill Clinton. They thought he was beneath them. They thought he was a backwater politician. And what I mean by that is, just dirty, grimy, scandal-ridden Arkansas politician. How did that guy beat us? How did that guy beat George Herbert Walker or whatever, Bush, whose father, Prescott, was a senator and who has been in the... How could that possibly happen that this seedy, backwater Arkansas Pole comes in and wins the presidency? And that was from the very beginning with Clinton. Plus, with all the scandals and the women, they never felt he was fit for the office. And the Republicans, from day one... The Whitewater investigation, I believe, started on the second or third day of the Clinton administration. And then 6 or 7 years later, they impeach him. They impeach him when he will not be removed because the Democrats had the Senate back then. There was no chance of removal. Same political stuff here. You got to watch out. People don't vote for somebody and then feel good about some elites stepping in and saying, no, we're going to veto that. Especially when we get to, but you couldn't impeach this guy until June or July, going through all the processes. You have to have a trial in the Senate. Going through all of the processes, you wouldn't be able to get this guy impeached until June or July of next year. So let's go back to what impeachment is. It's always political. It's always going to be judged as political. Since these Democrats know that he's not going to be removed, their calculation, as it has been with all of these investigations, is sooner or later people are just going to throw up their hands and say, get rid of this guy. It's too much. It's too much. And that's exactly what the Republicans thought they could do with Clinton, and that's what the thinking is now. That it's political in the sense that we know we can't remove him, but we think that if we do impeachment all the way through the middle of next year, it will damage him so much that we'll peel off and get back those voters in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin that ultimately swung the election toward Trump. So that's the Von Haessler doctrine here, is just to give you a clear picture of what's really going on. I'm not interested in your emotions. I'm not even interested in my emotions. I'm very much not interested in the emotions of characters like AOC and people like that.
I second that emotion.
Thank you. The AOC, Pelosi is trying to play AOC here. Let me go back to what I said earlier. Nothing happened yesterday. Let's go back to it again. Nothing changed. If you turn on the media, you think that something changed. Right? Autumn, I'm not making fun of you, but you're not a big political person.
Nope.
Given what the mood is, wouldn't you think, well, something's changed here. We're going into an impeachment thing.
Well, yeah.
In reality, nothing has changed. For months and months and months, these committees in the House have been doing inquiries to find evidence of wrongdoing that could lead to impeachment. Again, I'll ask the question. Corey Lewandowski was up there last week. Didn't we all think that Nadler was looking for evidence of wrongdoing so they could impeach? Isn't that an impeachment inquiry? Mueller was up there. Mueller didn't have to go up there. He didn't want to go up there. They made him go up there. Why did they make him go up there? Didn't we all think in the back of our heads, this is an impeachment inquiry? They're trying to find some wrongdoing. Now, she didn't change anything. All she said is, this is now an official impeachment inquiry.
Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry.
It's official.
I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations.
To proceed with their investigations. She's not directing a new committee. She's also not asking for a vote. Richard Nixon resigned, and I remember, I don't know the ins and outs exactly how this all works, but I remember watching on television a bunch of House members, a committee, they were around a table, and somebody asked, who's in favor of articles of impeachment? And they go around the table, and you hear aye, and it's Democrats and it's Republicans. They went on the record. If the Nixon case had been shifty, or he could have won that case, if Nixon would have come out not having broken the law and won that case, those people who said aye would have to pay for it with their constituents. They were on the record. Pelosi didn't ask for that. She said to her committees, Nadler, Schiff, who's the other one? Cummings, you keep doing what you've been doing for the last year, except now I'm going to call it an official inquiry.
Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella.
Under that umbrella.
Impeachment inquiry.
That's all. She slapped a name on it. I said it earlier. Snickers is the official candy bar of the Summer Olympics. They both existed before they were smashed together like that. That's all. And what Pelosi's trying to do is, I don't think it's going to work. She's trying to play both ends for how do you say it? Both ends.
Play both ends against the middle.
Against the middle. I don't think it's going to work. What Pelosi realizes is that AOC and that generation don't really care about results. They like parties. They like events. They like news events. They like things they can go on social media and say, yeah, we finally did it. So she's been getting a lot of pressure to impeach. She knows it's wrong. Listen, so she gives them, let off a little steam. But she's like, these millennials, they're so stupid. I'll just give them something. And then I won't really have to go through impeachment. I don't think it's going to work out that way because it's going to snowball. I think AOC has more control than Pelosi actually realizes right now. But I don't think it's going to work. I think Pelosi's going to be overrun. if you think about it right now, we have this country. I am not a person who's a fearmonger. I am an optimist, glass half full, especially if there's alcohol. But we may be seeing the beginning of losing this country. And it's both sides' fault, but mostly it's social media. Social media. You look at, they got this 16-year-old who travels across the ocean to come to our country to tell us that we're awful people and we've robbed her of her childhood and destroyed her life. 16-year-old. We have a 29-year-old first-term House member who's controlling the entire Democrat caucus. What do they both have in common? Social media influencers. I have a scary scenario, which I believe will happen in this country in the next 12 years, and I'll share that with you when we return. All right, stick around, because in just a few minutes I will call the next name. And if it's your name and you call back in 9 minutes, 55 seconds, guess what? You're going to win $900 in free gas. So you definitely want to stick around. So I said I was going to give you this scenario. I don't know if I have enough time here. So you got the 16-year-old who goes across the ocean to come to this country to tell us all that we're horrible people, we're murderers, we killed her childhood, we're just awful people. She gets this platform at the United Nations. We have AOC, who is apparently in control of the Democrat caucus. She's 29 years old, first-term House member from a district nobody knows and nobody cares about. We have a president who does almost all of his governing, initiatives, everything on social media, on Twitter. So you could say that they're all three social influencers. What do you call that? Media. Was it social media?
Influencers.
So social media influencers. Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday. We already have Donald Trump, who was famous. Now he's president. People are like, well, Oprah should run. Or all these other, Brad Pitt should run. George Clooney should run. You know what's going to happen in this country in the next 12 years? And it's not good. Because the kind of arguments and debates that go on social media are not legitimate. Did you hear what I said there? The debates that go on social media are not legitimate.
Not even Tim's retweet?
Not even retweet. No, nothing.
No.
Oh. Real debates have no trolls. Sorry to be so boring. It's passionate people who believe what they believe. Within 12 years, I believe that a social media influencer, known only to the world from being a social media influencer, will run for president and either do very well or win. And this country is screwed. Well, there you have it. I haven't been able to read the entire transcript. Just listen to what we just had on the air, and I'm reading a story in the Wall Street Journal. And it looks like exactly what I predicted, in the sense that it's going to be enough that both sides are going to argue that they are right based on what they see on the transcript. So, again, this is another thing where this is just an argument. Now, the question, at one point he does say, look into Joe Biden's son when he's talking to him. He never actually mentions the fact that he's holding back the money, but of course the president of Ukraine knows that the money's been authorized and it's not moving. So that would be a background to all of this. But again, we get in there with speculation. It's like the NFL. Do you overturn the call? Well, you have to be able to. The ref is not allowed to assume or speculate anything. The camera has to absolutely show everything in order for a call to be overturned. There's enough speculation, it seems to me so far, what I've read of this, to where my prediction is tomorrow when we get up, and later today, especially after the press conference the president will hold, is that Trumpers will believe that he's basically exonerated by this, and the resistance is going to believe that this is going to be the final nail in the coffin, and it's everything that we need. But it looks to me as if there's a lot of speculation. Also, we all assume that this call was that they record all these calls. That's not the case here. The transcript, as according to Wall Street Journal, isn't verbatim and was based off the notes and recollections of Situation Room and National Security Council officials. So there's a little more wiggle room. Now we're dealing with how people took their notes and all that. There's only one question, and that is, does this transcript, and again, I'm reading a story about the transcript. I haven't read all 5 pages myself. The question will be, does it move Senate Republicans? What happened with Nixon is at one point things got to a point where Republicans started to turn against Dick Nixon. He saw what was going on, and he said, well, if I'm going to be impeached, I'm just going to go ahead and resign. If my inkling tells me there's going to be enough to argue about, like the part in the Mueller report that some people thought was obstruction, and other people said, well, how would you expect somebody to react when they're innocent and they're being hounded like this? It seems to me there's enough wiggle room in here, enough arguing, and with Republicans in the Senate knowing that Trump's not going to lose a large percentage of his base based on this transcript, my guess is you will not move many Republicans. Keep your eye on Romney, a favorite hated Republican by a lot of people who listen to WSB. For me, he would be the first one to move, right? And he's not even a bellwether because you'd expect he might move in that direction. But if Romney doesn't move based on this, no one's going to move. And we're just going to argue about it until we have another election. I'm as quick as I can to read this 5-page transcript. And I'm just getting on like 3 and 4. The way that it's being reported is as if he brought up the fact that the Europeans weren't giving enough of their money, or weren't helping Ukraine enough.
All lip service.
As if he just brought that up quickly as overhead so he could then get to the Biden thing. But there's a very long discussion about this. Man, he throws Angela Merkel under the bus.
Yes. The European Union, Germany. My goodness.
But he's like, with Angela Merkel, she talk.
So talk, no action.
About Ukraine, and nothing happens. So that part of the conversation, and again, I'm only 3.5 pages in, that part of the conversation is not just like, I'm going to throw this out there so that you have a reason to talk about this. I mean, they have a back and forth, and they agree about how the Europeans, Germany, France, that they're not doing what they should be doing.
There's a little shade of Macron, too.
Yeah, Macron. But a lot of that comes from the Ukraine president.
Right.
Zelensky. These impeachments in the skis. You had Lewinsky, and I got Zelensky. Huh?
You don't want to see the dress.
Yeah, because he was alone. It was a phone call.
That's right.
So far, it's been back and forth, and I think that if you're on the side, again, this is like everything else. So far, I'm going to read a little bit more, and I'll find out if there's a bombshell in here. But so far, to me, what I've read so far, it's like everything else in this. The resistance is going to think it's the thing, and Trumpers are going to say it's no big deal. And you can look at this thing, and depending on what your worldview is and how you vote, you could see both things. He hasn't brought up Biden yet. Does he specifically bring up Biden? Because the part I'm reading where
Trump brings up the prosecutor.
He brings up, okay, that's a little later.
Fired.
Okay. But the part that I'm reading, you could easily say, this is the part about the servers. You could easily say the president is trying to investigate what happened in the last election. You could say he's trying to intimidate him. You could also say, you could interpret it and say that, hey, he's the president of the United States. There was a lot of stuff that went down in that last election. And he's saying to the new president of Ukraine, he's saying, look, we had a big deal over here, and apparently there's some servers in your country, and we'd like you to get to the bottom of it. And he also has a reason that he gives a context for bringing in his attorney general and his personal lawyer. I don't know if it's legitimate or not, but it wasn't reported in our little ABC piece. We'll get to it when we get back. I finally read through the whole transcript. There's some heavy-duty parts here, but I think overall, if you hate the president, you're going to love this, and if you love the president, you're going to think, it's no big deal. And that's where we always are. So this is page 3, really. He uses the words. Trump says, I would like you to do us a favor, though. Now, this is after, by the way, most of it is just this guy groveling up Trump and Trump tossing world leaders under the bus. It's all pretty hilarious. But this guy's like, Trump opens it up by congratulating you. No one saw you coming. You won big. It turns out it wasn't his particular, it was Parliament. And so he'd already been president for a while, but he'd solidified Parliament, and now he's 100% in control of the country. And it's the call starts out with the president, how the president is. Wow,
you did a great job. Whoa, nobody saw you coming.
Nobody saw you coming. You were an unusual candidate, and you got it done. And so then it's back and forth. It's a lot of backslapping. It's, well, Mr. President.
I stayed at the Trump Hotel in New York. It was wonderful.
It was wonderful. And we learned a lot from you and how you did. There's a lot of that. That's
a lot of good game backslaps.
Yeah, first 2 pages is you're wonderful, I'm wonderful, you're wonderful, I'm wonderful. Boy, the Europeans, Angela Merkel, what a jerk. Then you get to page 3. Top of page 3, Trump. I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot, and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. Now, is that a reference to the server thing?
I believe
CrowdStrike?
so, yes.
I guess you have one of your wealthy people, the server. They say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, that whole situation. I think now here's the context I was talking about that wasn't in our ABC report when he brings up Bill Barr and Giuliani. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people, meaning the people who have something to lose if things are found out. I'm not saying that makes this right, but he did put that in there. If you're going to look into this, I want you to hear our side of the story because I think you got some of the same people around you that were there before. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw this was right after Mueller. As you saw yesterday, the whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller. He speaks like it's a trailer for a 1950s Western. A man named Robert Mueller.
Right. He was a bad man.
A man called Horse.
So it was a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance. But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible. Now the president comes back. Yes, it is very important for me and everything. Why do I feel like I have to do an accent?
An impression.
I wasn't doing
Not Russian, Ukrainian.
Yes. It's very important for me and everything that you just mentioned earlier. For me as a president, it is very important, and we are open for any future cooperation. Now, what the Dems are going to say and what is real, you have to remember in the background, Trump is holding up money. He's not bringing it up in this conversation, but it's in the background. It's in the president's mind. The Congress of the United States, bipartisan, has voted, $400 million that can go there in aid. I think it was 323, something like that. The president a few days earlier said, I want to stop it, giving the reason that, are we the only ones giving here? Are the Europeans going to pony up? But it is out there that this stuff has been voted on by the American Congress.
It was a $391 million aid package.
Yeah, but so when you hear this context, you know the president of Ukraine knows that this money is being held up. So it's very important to me. It's important for me as a president. It's very important, and we are open for any future cooperation. We are ready to open a new page in cooperation relations between the United States and Ukraine. For that purpose, he's telling him, I just recalled the ambassador you didn't like. I was giving I'm doing a lot of things that you like. I will personally tell you that one of my assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani just recently, and we are hoping very much that he'll travel to Ukraine and we'll meet once he gets here. I just wanted to show you once again that you have nobody but friends around us. I will make sure that I surround myself with the best and most experienced people. Okay, this is the president. You could take out of that people who like you, that'll go your way, but it's very difficult. Again, go back to the NFL and overturning the call. A lot of times you see something and you just know because you've watched enough football that ball hit the ground, but something gets in the way of the camera. If you're a ref, even though you know because you've seen so much NFL that must have hit the ground, you are not allowed to assume anything. You can only overturn the call if you clearly see what happens, not what you think from experience happened. And we're in the same thing here. Is this president saying what's on his mind, gushing, he believes it, or is he pandering to our president and saying anything that needs to be said to get that $400 million over there? Again, in the real world, maybe we can all go, but the camera is not going to show you exactly that happening. After all that surrounding all that, the president says, good, because I heard you had a prosecutor. Now, this is where the president listens to too much talk radio. I hate to bite the hand that feeds me. The president watches too much Fox News. The prosecutor that was fired at the behest of Biden, and we'll get to that whole part in a moment, the prosecutor that was fired was seen as corrupt by many people in Ukraine that thought that the company needed to go down. This is more complicated than talk radio. It's too often that we just connect dots and we go, oh, that's the, yeah. I always call it the brother thing. Well, you know who his brother is? I've got 4 brothers. We never talk. We're nothing alike. But if you're looking at somebody, go, oh, look, his brother, So you can always just connect dots. Yes. Hunter Biden's son was on the board of, what was it called, Burisma or something, of this energy company. That energy company was being looked into by the prosecutor. Joe Biden said, you don't get the money unless the prosecutor gets fired. He gets fired. Connect those dots. But the reality is a lot of people in Ukraine who are on the side of a heavier prosecution thought that prosecutor was going too light. So he was seen as an incompetent prosecutor. Trump is taking Fox News,
spin.
Sean Hannity, I'm sorry, kind of narrative here. The president says, good, because I heard you had a prosecutor who was very good, and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that, the way they shut your very good prosecutor down. That's not true. A lot of people in Ukraine on all sides of the issue thought that this prosecutor was not good. And many people who wanted the company really run out of business thought that that prosecutor wasn't very good. And vice versa. So that's a little more complicated than is being described, especially in conservative media. Everybody didn't think he was a great prosecutor that was going to take down the company. A lot of people didn't think he was doing enough of a job. So you had some very bad people, a very good prosecutor down, you had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani, this is the president again, is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor. And I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you along with the attorney general. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he is a very capable guy. Now, all of that seems damning, but what I'm going to say to you is there's a part in there where he says, I think you have some of the same people around you now. So you could read this as, I just want you to talk to Giuliani and our people and get our perspective to go along with, because you got some of the same people around you that were around the last president, and we didn't think he was any good at this. All that goes to say that there's enough in here for both sides. It's just like the Mueller report. It's just like everything else that's come out so far. If you hate Trump, this is a smoking gun. If everyone you know agrees with you and hates Trump, you're going to have drinks tonight after work, absolutely convinced that this guy's going to go based on this. But if you are in Trump's base, you're looking at this and going, that's the president. He doesn't have a filter. He doesn't know how to separate the personal from the political. And we know this guy. That's how he is. He's a deal maker. He's making a deal. Do we have enough time? Let's just very quickly. Now, let's throw all of that away and just say that it is wrong for the President of the United States to try to get something out of a president of Ukraine by holding up money that was voted for by the Congress. Okay, if that's true, then let's go back to Joe Biden when he was vice president and what he says he did about $1 billion.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
All right. What the hell is the difference? He was the vice president. He couldn't have done that without the approval of the president. So what's the difference between the president sending the vice president on a plane to go over and tell Ukraine they're not going to get money if they don't do something that we want, fire that prosecutor, or the current president calling Ukraine and talking to their president and saying for different purposes, essentially, and not saying it that explicitly, if you just believe that's what he was implying, that you're not going to get this money unless you do what we want. There's no difference. So the end game here, the Democrats need to understand, if Trump goes down for this, Biden has to go down for it. And Obama's legacy gets stained by it because there's essentially no difference whether you right, wrong, transcript, implication, was it bullying, wasn't it bullying. If what Trump did was wrong, it's not possible that what Joe Biden admits to doing was right. It's the same exact thing. The money, the $1 billion that Biden was talking about, had been voted on and passed by the Congress. The executive was saying, you're not going to get that money until you fire that prosecutor. And if you believe this, what Trump was saying here, you're not going to get that money if you don't get in touch with Bill Barr and investigate and give us some answers to what happened in 2016. There's no difference there. So if one goes down, Biden has to go down. This is a great day for Elizabeth Warren.
The Von Haessler Doctrine. If you think there's a crisis at the border, spend a few minutes inside Eric's head. This is the Von Haessler Doctrine on 95.5 WSB.
We had no winner for the free gas giveaway. So that means $1,000 in free gas is up for grabs at 4 p.m. during Atlanta's Evening News with the other white Eric Erickson. You call him. No, you don't call him. He calls out your name. You hear your name. You call back 9 minutes and 55 seconds, and you'll win $1,000. Guess what? He can't call your name if he doesn't have your name. So if you haven't registered yet, go to WSBradio.com or use the WSB Radio app. You don't have to point to your phone. I knew what I was going to say next, Jared.
I worry about you, Eric.
Hey, put your name in there and then listen to Eric Erickson. He calls your name. You just might get $1,000 in free gas. So the back and forth here with Ukraine is fascinating. There's a great article that Tim sent me from The Hill that documents all of the bullying that's been going on in Ukraine from the Democrats over the last couple of years. And again, just like Joe Biden, is his own words, who's this guy, Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. He went over there to Ukraine and basically at that point was saying, hey, right now, funding Ukraine, like he's a senator, he can't hold anything up as one senator. But when he goes over there and says, look, right now it's bipartisan. Anything Ukraine wants from the United States, Ukraine gets because we're all on one side in America. We want to bolster you up against Russia, the Russian Federation. But guess what? It might not always be bipartisan. So you probably shouldn't continue on with these investigations of the Bidens and all of that nonsense and more. So senators have been over there to bully in the other direction. I want to talk about Ukraine when we get back. Boy, why Ukraine? Paul Manafort's in jail because of Ukraine. It's a small country. There's more going on here. Hour 3 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. All right, well, we're all going through this transcript, this conversation between the leader of Ukraine. My understanding is that we actually have gotten an exclusive. We don't have it ready to go yet. We may not have it till tomorrow, depending on how lazy we are. But that we have an exclusive, a piece of the conversation that was cut out, that was redacted. And it's in real time. Turns out that this Zelensky can speak broken English. And we'll bring you that part. It's a conversation. I think it has something to do with Game of Thrones. I don't know, but it was cut out. It was redacted. And we have it here as an exclusive. And as I said, depending on how energetic or lazy we are, we'll either have that for you later in the hour or in the first hour tomorrow. Really depends on what. We'll
have to use that voice translator, to make sure that it's correct.
We also have to run it by the Justice Department. Make sure we can put it on the air.
Go ahead, I don't care.
So for people just tuning in and everything, so the transcript has dropped. It's unredacted. It's not a recorded thing. It's from the notes of all the people that were around, and obviously Trump and the president of Ukraine agreed that was what the conversation was, or close enough to it that it can be let out there. Again, I will say this: if you hate Trump, you're going to find everything in this transcript that leads you to believe that he should be impeached. That's not going to change. If you're part of Trump's base, you're going to see all kinds of wiggle room and the president's personality that you already know. And then there's the other part of it, where if the true high crime and or misdemeanor here is that the president basically implied that if he didn't open this investigation, into Joe Biden's son and find out, really get to the bottom of that, and also what happened in 2016. You have to remember, there's coverage in the transcript because he opens up talking about all the things that went on in our elections, and that there's a wealthy person over there in Ukraine and a server, and our understanding is so right there. Again, I'm just telling you what's going to happen, so don't take it out on me. Right there, the president is going to be able to say, I'm the president of the United States. I'm talking to Ukraine. They were very involved in all the funny business that went on in our elections. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me saying we'd like you to get to the bottom of this. Then it goes over into also, I want you to talk to Rudy Giuliani and Bill Barr. And Trump seems to think this was a good prosecutor who was removed because Joe Biden wanted him removed. Now, remember, if the big high crime and or misdemeanor here is that the president used pressure, withheld funds until he got a favor from the Ukraine government, then, again, let's go back to Joe Biden. And Joe Biden was the vice president. Not when he said this, but he's talking about when he was vice president. He didn't have the authority to do what he's talking about here. He had to get clearance from the president of the United States. And it seems to me he did exactly the same thing.
I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
So there's the issues would be the same. Bipartisan Congress voted the money. And he's saying, I'm going to hold up that money unless you do what I want, which is fire this prosecutor. Prosecutor was fired. The money was released. Very much the same issue. There's people will say, yeah, but he's asking them to deal with Bill Barr and Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani is the trouble point. Bill Barr is the Attorney General of the United States, and you can cover that with anything having to do with foreign policy and Ukraine. Personal lawyer. Now, bringing the personal lawyer in, Rudy Giuliani, the president's coverage there is going to be, and it's in the transcript as well, we think you have some of the same people around you that were around the last president, so I want you to talk to Giuliani and Barr because they're going to give you some information that you don't already know. As people are saying, well, that he's trying to get actually an investigation for his political rival here, and that's the difference. But it's a difference without a distinction. If the real problem is that the president held back money that had been earmarked for Ukraine until a favor was done. In those two situations, between Biden and Trump, if you believe that what Trump did was wrong, you have to believe what Biden did was wrong. And don't forget, Biden was the vice president. He could not do that without the authority of the president. So the president put the vice president on a plane to go to Ukraine and say, you're not getting money until you do something. And Trump, as president, called the president of Ukraine and supposedly did the same thing. So again, this is a good day for Elizabeth Warren because I'm telling you the truth here. Trump cannot go down for this without Biden going down. Now you add the Washington Post. Who's this reporter? Thiessen. Is it Mark Thiessen? Anyway, Thiessen. This is in the Washington Post. It got almost no attention, but in May 2018, CNN reported that Senators Robert Menendez, Richard Durbin, and Patrick Leahy wrote a letter to Ukraine's prosecutor general, expressing concern at the closing of 4 investigations they said were critical to the Mueller probe. In the letter, they implied that their support for U.S. assistance to Ukraine was at stake, describing themselves as strong advocates for a robust and close relationship with Ukraine. See, it's the same thing. Not a quid pro quo, but language. The Democratic senators declared, we have supported the capacity building process and are disappointed that some in Kiev appear to have cast aside these principles to avoid the ire of President Trump before demanding they reverse course and halt any efforts to impede cooperation with this important investigation. So behind the scenes, the Trump administration and the Senate and people in the House have all been, in their own way, threatening Ukraine that they're not going to get, the senators basically said the next time we vote, and the president's saying the money that I have in my hand, but apparently behind the scenes, Ukraine has been getting it from all sides. If you're this president or somebody high in the Ukraine government, you've been getting it from all sides. You better open that. You better not cooperate with Trump or we won't vote for you next time. Trump saying, hey, you better do what I want you to do or you're not going to get this money. No, there are not. I'm sorry to report once again that these are all politicians. You elect them and then you should hold them accountable. I don't care who you love. I'm going to give you the honest truth. And the honest truth is that both sides behind the scenes have been bullying Ukraine to do what they want concerning these investigations. So that's the reality. I'm sorry to be the one who has to report to you again, whoever you love in politics is not pure. Do yourselves a favor and don't come from that perspective. You have never voted for a deity. I'm sorry that I have to be the one to tell you this. You have never in your life voted for a saint. My mother thought she did with JFK. We had 2 pictures on the wall, Jesus Christ and John F. Kennedy. But it turns out my mother was wrong. And anybody listening to me, you have never, I'm sorry to be the one to report this, you've never voted for a white knight. It's never happened. Every vote you have ever cast is for somebody who's got a huge ego and wants more power, and they need your vote to get it. Now there's a spectrum, right? As far as good to bad along that spectrum. But again, I must report to you that you have never voted for a saint. There are no clean hands here. If you're on the far left, the far right, the center left, center right, however you feel about this, no one's clean here. No one is clean. I'm sorry to tell you that you didn't vote for a saint, whoever you voted for. Unless you vote for Beto. He's, oh, yeah. He's above everything, of course. Those flailing hands.
I would never do that. I swear to God.
So that's hard for people to deal with. Because we've gotten to this point in this country. Damn it.
Don't get choked up.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm cursed
Get emotional.
I'm cursed by the sunflower seeds I was eating. We've gotten to the point in this country where people are treating politicians like rock stars. You should not have a poster of any politician in your house. If you do, you're almost immediately illegitimate in a conversation. It means you don't get it. If you want to be smart in this world, and if you want to vote well in this world, you'll come at it with a real point of view. And the real point of view always is, out of these 2 candidates, which one will hurt me least? And then, when they come up for re-election, you decide whether or not that was the truth. I gotta get a drink of water here. Hey, do Trump or something.
Oh boy, have a drink of water, coffee boy. And I don't mean coffee.
I mean your coffee.
Coughing boy?
By the way, I didn't collude. It was a very lovely call, a very wonderful call, a nice call.
Very quickly, didn't he say at one point, did he describe it as a letter?
He did
I think
describe
he
it as
got
a letter.
confused with Kim Jong-un or
It was a
something.
letter, a call letter. There were letters in the call.
And there was never any quid pro quo. The letter was beautiful.
Stop
it was
for
a
1
perfect
second.
letter.
Is he in his bathroom?
The letter was lovely. It was a nice letter. There were lots of letters in this phone call. Because it was in English on my side. Some of his was Cyrillic. I don't read that very well, but it was a beautiful letter.
Let me hear.
And there was never any quid pro quo. The letter was beautiful. It was a perfect letter.
The transcript is
You mean
it's
you
a phone call.
don't, when you speak, you don't use letters?
No, I don't. I
Yes,
use
you do.
letters. No, I
Every
use,
word you use is made of a letter.
No, it is. I use sounds when I speak. I use letters as replacements so I can communicate what I would speak if I was there when I write.
Whatever.
I use emojis. I don't know about you. Another thing I was thinking about when all this impeachment stuff started to break. In a way, I've wondered, because there was a lot of Democrats wanted to impeach Bush. And, Bush even went to Congress before he went to war. So they just hated him. And, they bought into the idea that he was a war criminal or something.
Wasn't
like
it the
that.
torture stuff?
The torture stuff, yeah, exactly. And then there was the idea that was that, but he had gotten, he had gotten clearance from that. Now you could say, well, yeah, they were his people, but it's always the president's people who give him clearance on what they can do. So they had guidance on that. So there was no way to really impeach him. My point is the Republicans should not have impeached Bill Clinton. And the Democrats, I wonder if they've been holding on to that for a long time. And if there's a little bit of sort of, because they know that the Republicans aren't going to remove Trump, just as the Clinton wasn't removed, right? But maybe there's a little idea of institutional payback here. You impeached one of ours for no good reason. Now we'll even out history. We're gonna impeach one of yours. If it's not that, and we get into this cycle, something that's only happened twice in 240 some odd years is going to become a tool in the toolbox as the part of the opposition for any president that's in power going forward. So, does anyone ever play that piano on Atlanta and Company? I love the concept of a piano as furniture. Hey, do you play? Nah, I just think it looks good in the corner.
Yeah, my decorator put it there.
Oh. And there are a whole bunch of vacuous home buyers. Oh, it'll look so wonderful if people walk in my home and they see a piano. You ever play it? No. No need to ever have anybody in to work on it. You'll never hear it. But
What piano?
It looks great.
Oh, that thing that I put tchotchkes on Christmas?
Yeah. It makes me look smarter if people walk into my home and there's a piano.
Let's go make some pumpkin spice muffins.
You ever enjoy the beautiful music of the sound of a piano? No, but it looks great. Looks awesome over there. Piano as furniture. Fantastic. You come in, somebody is actually playing it because they don't know how to play, and you shoo them away.
Hey, get away from me.
I just had that thing cleaned.
Yeah. You get your fingerprints all over the keys.
I had my key guy out here.
Yeah.
I was just trying to tune it for you, man.
No, we don't need it tuned. It's a piece of furniture. Do you do you tune your armoire?
Yeah, my couch needs to be tuned.
You can't say the word armoire.
Armoire.
The French. I call it a freedomoire.
Yeah, freedomoire.
Tired of them. You know what? It turns out we do have that exclusive. The Von Haessler Doctrine is not like every other show. We have contacts everywhere. Everybody's talking about the transcript of this call, and they say that it was not redacted in any way. But there are portions, it turns out, portions of the call that did not make it in, and we actually have it here. It turns out the president of Ukraine, he speaks broken English.
Are you sure this is FCC compliant, Eric?
I don't know about the FCC.
I don't want to take this chance here.
We ran it by the Attorney General. He gave us the green light. So this is, what is Trump? I guess they're talking about entertainment or something.
Hello, Mr. President. It's nice to speak with you. Hi, well, it's nice to speak with you. Congratulations on your great victory. Before I bring up the main reason I called, what's with the Italians? I mean, one week it's spaghetti, the next week it's linguine. I mean, one's round, one's flat. Make up your mind. What's going on with Italians? I don't get it. I mean, they're crazy. Yes, Italians. I understand, Mr. President. By the way, I gotta let you know, I heard that the final season of Game of Thrones was about to be premiered in Ukraine. Don't waste your time. Look, nobody here, even the people on the show hated it. It was terrible. They let the guy who can't walk become king. Spoiler alert, we won't watch the Game of Thrones. I've never been a big fan of Peter Dinklage. Anyway, on to this thing about Biden. Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, you always get a little extra here of the Von Haessler Doctrine. There's a lot of. I want to go back to. There's a great part. I've got so many tabs open. What does Jared always say to you?
What's your tab count?
What's the tab count?
Yeah. What's your tab count?
Do you guys have yours open? Because I love the thing at the very end. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, we've done all the analysis. You'll just have to. The brilliant analysis has already happened, and that'll be available in podcast by 2:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go over it all again, but at the very end. There's a lot. Most of this is sort of congratulating each other on how wonderful they are. And every world leader knows with Trump, you want to deal with his ego, and you tell him how great he is. It just makes sense. And so there's been a lot of that, and then they do all the Biden stuff, and then they get back at the end, and they're closing things up. And the president of Ukraine says, I would be very happy to come because he gets invited to the White House. Be happy to meet with you personally. But you should come here. We have come to Kiev. It's a beautiful city, a beautiful country, which would welcome you. On the other hand, I believe this September I'll be in Poland. We can meet in Poland, hopefully. after that, it might be a good idea for you to travel to Ukraine. We can either take my plane and go to Ukraine, or we can take your plane, which is probably much better. And then just all of a sudden, this is like such the blow off here.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we can work that out. Look, I look forward to seeing you in Washington and maybe in Poland because I think we're going to be there at that time.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Congratulations on a fantastic job you've done. The whole world is watching. I'm not sure it was so much of an upset, but congratulations.
When you get these background things, what you realize, what you see with Trump is exactly the same every, in the middle of the Congress. I don't know that it was so big, but hey, it was big. It
wasn't as big as mine. You don't have an electoral college, and if you did, you probably would be able to brag.
Another great thing is these are two world leaders, okay? Two world leaders. When Jane and I first got together, she was married, and our oldest, now 34, was 2 at the time. And we did that thing with his dad, where he would get him maybe for the weekend or something. And I would notice on the way back, after being with a 2-year-old for the weekend, when I would say goodbye to his dad would say to me, bye-bye, because you're around kids. Yeah. And so it's in your head. These are two world leaders, one, the most powerful person on the planet, and the president of Ukraine ends the call by saying, "Thank you, Mr. President. Bye-bye."
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm going to go use the potty.
You know what it reminds me of? That scene in Caddyshack where Chevy Chase is with Bill Murray, and Bill Murray goes, "You got a pool over there?"
Yeah.
Chevy Chase says, "We have a pond. A pond would be good for you."
Because this is like a paragraph. Yeah. A paragraph where the president of Ukraine is saying, "We have a beautiful country. City loves you. You should come here."
Sounds great.
Yeah. We can work that out.
Yeah, maybe I'll be there around that time.
Maybe I'll meet you in Belarus. Yeah. Split the difference.
Maybe in Poland.
Maybe.
It's like Trump's gotten his message across, and now it's okay. On to the next thing.
I gotta
go. Yeah.
Vlad's on the phone.
Vlad. And also, here's another little thing to deal with. If you're on the left, you think this is smoking gun. All of this is about helping Vladimir Putin's nemesis. How does that fit in with the last reason we were supposed to impeach Trump? Because he was so close to Putin. Putin hates Zelensky. Putin doesn't want Zelensky to get the money, and we're giving them money and supporting them. So the narratives are starting to clash. And this guy's not going to be removed from office, whether you like it or not. But here's the good news. You're an American, and we have an election coming up next year. The power is still in your hands. We're so great, Jared. We just think and we do.
That's right.
Like Saturday Night Live, you got to get it passed and greenlit. No, they get to dress. And
look through everybody's tweets to find out they didn't say anything 20 years ago.
Just think and do. That's what this show does. That's why it's so great. Now I'm worried. So even I was going to start this segment off by pleading with the people who read the transcript and say there's nothing here. I was going to plead, please do not use the term nothing burger. I can't handle another 3 months of every Republican on TV saying this is a nothing burger. Turns out Lindsey Graham has already tweeted.
Yeah, because guess what? Wow, impeachment over this? What a nothing burger.
Oh, it starts already.
Democrats lost their minds when it comes to this president. I'm not drunk.
I know you're not. You're just getting there.
I'm having a sip right now. Nothing burger. That's what I have to say.
Last year we came up with not dog.
Yeah, it's not dog.
At least go into another direction. I can't hear the term nothing burger over and over again for the next.
This is a not dog.
Does that sound better? AOC has tweeted.
Yeah, she's been very busy. She just here's one of her latest tweets.
What, has she been staring in the mirror?
Yeah.
You're wonderful.
Well, I had to put on my lipstick perfectly.
And then you realize you are as wonderful as all of the people think you are.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
She says, I would like you to do us a favor. Folks, I am surprised the White House even released this transcript. It's worse than we thought. The president sought to use the powers of the United States government to investigate a political opponent. We have no choice but to impeach.
Yeah, and again, and when you look at that, again, the social media crowd. First of all, when is AOC going to break it to her followers who have never had a good civics course that you can impeach the president and the next day he's still president? First of all, I'm not convinced that most of AOC's followers recognize that the president can be impeached and then still be the president.
That's not how it works.
The process of impeachment is impeaching is like indicting, and then you go to the Senate for the trial, and then each senator make up the jury, and you get 2/3 of the Senate. Was that 67 senators?
I think it's pronounced indenting.
And basically, you would have to convince 20 Republican senators to vote guilty in the trial that most people who follow AOC don't know happens after impeachment, because I guarantee you, most people believe that impeachment means you have to leave, even though they have the recent history of Clinton, where he was impeached and he didn't leave. I know you know. When are you going to turn on your Dumbo fans to it? That's the question. Because you're not going to get 20 Republicans based on this. So he's not going to be removed. And when you look at this social media kind of crowd, remember, go back to, like I said earlier, you got the 16-year-old who travels across the ocean to stand up at the UN and tell Americans that we're the worst people, we're awful, and we've destroyed her life, and she's really mad at us over it.
How dare you?
How dare you? And we got 29-year-old first-term member of the House from a district nobody cares about, who apparently is gaining more control over that caucus than maybe Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. We have a president who does 85% of his governance on Twitter. Social media. But what is it about social media people? They don't really care about results. Remember, bring our girls home, or bring our
Boko Haram.
Boko Haram. Everybody said, bring our girls on Twitter, and they put themselves, and then they went to brunch, and they never came back.
Some of them are still there.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, it was the lungs of the world. Do they really stick to it? Make sure that fire's out. No, that fire's still raging. They went to brunch. They don't care. They want to signal their virtue. Virtue signaling. That's what this is important about. So people like AOC know that Trump will not be removed, know that they're not going to get 20 Republicans in the Senate to vote to remove the president, but it's the same kind of thing. We just want history to know that we rejected him. That's all. In 150 years, we want people to know that there were people like us, good people like me, AOC. I'm staring at myself, and I know that no one is more enlightened in this country, and I want history to remember how wonderful and brave I was. So the idea is, with the social media crowd and the millennials who love AOC, they don't care about results. They didn't check back to see if the girls got home from Boko Haram. They didn't check back to see if the lungs of the world were put out. They just like to let all their friends know that they care about it. And that's what's going on here. Pelosi realizes this is going to drag into next year, and everybody in the House of Representatives, by the way, every single member is up every 2 years, has to be voted in again every 2 years. And if he's not removed but was impeached, what are they going to have to run on? That's it. They got in there because they talked a lot about health care. What have they done on health care? I don't remember. What have they done on anything other than investigations into the president? I don't think that's a whole lot to run on, and I think Pelosi knows that's not a whole lot to run on. Also, the American people are going to say, why are we doing this? When we get to May and June of next year, why are we doing this when we have an election a few months from now? And the American people, God forbid, could decide whether or not this guy's going to continue to be president.
They're not smart enough to know.
That's what the AOC thinks. And by the way, the right thinks that the left's not smart enough to know either. It's not exclusive. Pelosi knows that this could be damaging. It's a big gamble. She didn't want to do it, and that's why she really hasn't done anything more except, hey, Nadler, keep on investigating. No one's been asked to vote. Yeah.
You know what's most upsetting about all this news today, Eric?
That we didn't get to talk enough about that Downton Abbey film.
Yes,
that's what all my friends are talking about.
Mario Kart was knocked off the top trend now. Can you believe it? It was a top trend all night long.
Why? What happened with Mario Kart?
Well, there was technical difficulties, and then impeached Trump had to knock it off.
I don't have time for all this. That music says we got to go, but we're not done completely. We got to do the podcast 30. How can people join us for that?
2 places, Eric. The Von Haessler Doctrine Facebook page. You're welcome, Eric. Or the WSB Radio Facebook page. There's a little red box on each of those pages. Just click it, and you can watch us here in the studio.
We're going to come back to this again tomorrow morning. You are all invited to join us. Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. All right, the Podcast 30 begins right now. I'm your fearless host. I'm not really a fearless host. I'm full of fear. That's what I meant to be. You're full of fear host, Eric Von Haessler. Fear and loathing and all those wonderful things I associate with the great Tim Andrews. He's here. He also gets his feelings hurt.
Very easily.
Just trying to bust his nads, and he gets his feelings hurt. J-Rad rocking the tunes. Autumn Fisher. And in some sort of hipster haze bubble.
This is my DJ look. I put my beanie on over my headphones.
That's really something. It's a hell of a look. Is that a thing? Because if it's not, you got to
Beanie
start
Phones. That's my EDM name. Beanie Phones.
Beanie
I'm going to
Phones.
do Beanie Phones tonight.
Oh, dude, Amazonia stage. Sweet.
If that is not a thing yet, you have got to just start going to EDM shows.
Yeah.
With headphones on.
Like does it have a ball at the end?
And I'm telling you, it will take off.
Just walk around the street like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's because headphones. People always have their headphones.
Yeah.
But not plugged in, so let them see the thing flapping around.
Yeah, that's going to be your new thing. You go with the old-fashioned headphones outside, so that's a hipster thing. Hey, they're really big. Hey.
And they're not plugged in, so the cord's trailing behind me, but I'm obviously in my head hearing music.
Yeah.
I got it on shuffle, bro.
Yeah. I love that whole thing, the way that it's like with athletes now, they when they walk past the press or the fans or anything. I don't know how coaches ever allowed that to get started. I can't hear anything. I'm listening to music. Really? You're just going to keep listening to music until they kick off?
All right.
What?
All right. That's how you said it.
Did I say that?
Uh-huh. All right.
All right. That's going to be my new catchphrase. All right.
How would you put that on a T-shirt? I like spelling things, so we got to figure out how to spell that. I'm going to finish my bottle of Pepto
hold
here.
on. Why are you drinking Pepto-Bismol like it's water?
Because it tastes so good.
Oh,
check your email, Greg. I sent you a recipe.
Yes, a Pepto cake?
No, it's Pepto ice cream.
No.
Two of your favorite things.
Oh, no.
Yes. You know what tastes like Pepto-Bismol? Those egg
Vomit.
gumballs that come out near Easter.
Yes.
Yeah. It's got that pink flavor.
It's like a peppermint or
I don't like
It's a spearmint?
Pepto-Bismol. I try and drink it.
good
I
for
try
you.
and get as much in my mouth as I can and just swallow it.
I just remember
Sorry, Tim.
wow.
one time sometimes you can get to the Pepto-Bismol too late. And then when you vomit 2 minutes later, it's just all pink.
It's disgusting.
It's like,
That happened to me in
man,
Chicago.
I was an hour too late. I'll get that Pepto in there.
When,
I'll have a
after
black
you-
tongue soon.
See, I don't get the black tongue. I get black something else.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
will
poop.
get that. Yep.
What
Yeah.
now? What's going on?
It turns your poop black.
What does?
Yeah.
The
Pepto.
bismuth.
Pepto.
The bismuth in Pepto-Bismol.
How much do you have to drink for that? Well, this guy.
Normal
spoonfuls?
amount.
Normal
Yeah, the
amount.
normal amount.
Some people have their tongue turn black, and some people maybe have both. Have their poop turn black.
My doctor
Really?
said my Lanta.
That doesn't turn your poop black?
No.
I see a pink bottle in it.
I see
Turns all my poop
some
black.
pink juice and my heartburn wants to end.
No, he was trying to do
turns
the
my poop
black.
Oh.
I want to turn. Never mind.
I did it, but nobody heard it.
Well, because he was talking
I see
over you.
people pooping by, dressed in their pooping clothes.
No.
I have to plug my nose
No, Tim.
until their pooping is closed.
She's saying no.
No.
Until their poop hole closed.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Whatever. She's being hypercritical. of
She
me.
is being hypercritical.
Well, you can't. Hey, some people's poop holes don't close; they leak. So you're excluding those people and alienating them and making them feel bad.
That's right.
happens-
Some people have a leaky gasket.
That happens with age, I would imagine. But we got all kinds.
Elephantitis.
And
I mean,
porn.
there's diapers
and
for that.
porn.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
you can just get
insertion.
it. You know, you can just get it stitched up.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's not talk about it.
Sometimes
The
you gotta-
doctor has to stitch it up.
I like that rose blossom. That's what we're gonna
You
get to.
got you to cinch it up sometimes.
Yeah.
Close off
Especially
that
if you have a
ball.
rose blossom.
No,
Oh, it's
rosebud.
no
Rosebud,
difference.
yeah.
There's no
Do you-
difference. It's an
do you-
iris.
You don't know what a rosebud is, do you?
I know. I'm a fan of Citizen Kane. I'm not going
That's
to
not
do a
it.
spoiler alert. I know what a rosebud
You might get
is.
one if you use a cane.
I know. I think I know what a rose. I can't ask you. Isn't it just it's just your anus, right?
No.
No.
Well, what, I feel like
Prolapse.
how do
Yeah,
I?
it's when it's, you know,
That's when it comes out.
When
the
does it come
inside
out?
shows.
You ever like take a sock and pull it out?
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing.
What?
Take a sock and pull it out?
Put your
It's
hand in a sock and then pull it inside out. Turn it
If-
inside out.
If you're straining too much or you have a lot of diarrhea, it can happen.
yeah. Or
That's
Yeah, I mean, or sure.
So are you saying that if you enjoy some sexual play,
Backdoor activity?
Backdoor
I'm just thinking
activity
of
is
how it would happen to Eric. There would
parking
be
in rear.
None of that.
Walking in a park alone. That's when it would happen to you.
I sprinted.
Walking
Hey,
along your prolapse. What are you going to tell people? That's why I don't go to parks. Prolapse.
Tim Andrews fills me in on everything like nitty gritty.
Greg knows all of it too.
So do I.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
know
you're a
but
girl.
You're a girl. I can't.
So?
Yeah, no. Look, I have these conversations with you often.
Yeah, I like all these things. These are the gross things I like.
You like leaky stuff?
These are a few of the gross things I like.
Yeah.
Who likes to watch
Prolapse and rosebuds and
Do you like zit popping
gooning
videos?
and edging.
you ever see those
These are the
giant?
things that Tim does in the hedging.
No, Tim, those giant blackhead videos. Oh, my
They're
God.
awesome, aren't they?
Oh, no.
No.
Are you-
Yeah.
Is this YouTube?
It's disgusting, but it lures you in because it's wow, all of that's finally out of that person's
Yeah,
pore.
it's
This
very
is great.
relaxing.
It
So
feels like
you
there's-
actually get some sort of relief from it, some stress
Yes.
release.
You just think about because these big blackheads,
What is a blackhead? Like, I used to have them on my nose, and they're not pimples. What exactly are
it's a
they?
clogged pore.
Okay.
Dirt's
It's just
getting in.
oil and
So it's
dirt
just dirt
and
getting in. Okay.
sebum.
But isn't that the beginning?
Sebum.
Isn't that the beginning of a pimple anyway? It just doesn't turn
No,
into
not
a pimple?
always.
It's a
Because a
different kind.
pimple starts with a clogged
Okay,
pore,
maybe all pimples start from blackheads, but not all blackheads become
So
pimples.
we could think of blackheads as failed pimples.
Yes.
Like some doctors are murderers, but not all murderers are doctors.
Good.
Yep.
Good name for today's show. Failed pimples.
I like it when you can get a big handful and like 6 or 7 of them and just wiggle out like worms.
I don't. I just. I
Talk about like on the nose?
Yeah, on the
Oh,
nose.
gosh.
Like on the side of your nose here,
Yeah.
right
I
there.
remember when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was like 13, and I started to get into really bad acne, and I had the blackheads on the nose, and then the pimples everywhere. And my mom would buy these things off TV or something, whatever. But we got this one thing. You want to talk about this most idiotic thing ever? So it was. How do I describe this?
It was a metal tool?
It was a no. It was like a gun thing.
It was a suction cup.
Not really. It was more like you pull up this. So it's a plastic cylinder, right? And it's got a sharp edge on the bottom, right? And then you pull it up through a spring, right? And then you put it over your blackhead. You let it go, and it go. And it is supposed to bust up the blackhead.
Oh.
Oh,
And I sat there doing that, and all I did was indent my face a lot. I don't think it really worked for anything, but it was some crappy thing that my mom probably saw on TV, and she's like, "Oh, my son looks like a monster. I got to do something."
You ever do the Biore pad that you put on your nose for like 15 minutes? And then when
Yes.
it's done, you
No,
pull it
that
out?
probably works.
Oh, yeah, it looks awesome.
I like to let them sit there for an hour thinking they're going to petrify a bit more and pull more
But
out.
I feel like once you use that and you rip it off, you're more susceptible to getting more blackheads. In
Yeah,
that
You
area.
are.
That's why you got to
And-
use the antiseptic right after.
I
And a lot
guess.
of times, what you're actually taking out are your hairs, like your little fine hairs with the little like a follicle ball at the end, and so you think that you're getting blackheads, but you're really just pulling.
I just
out
want
your
to
Now,
hair.
what's the
make room
danger?
for more blackheads so I can keep doing that.
Yeah. Well, what's the danger of what you just said, Autumn? I mean, your body would just replenish that, wouldn't it? It was the one.
Yeah. But it just seems like your hair is there. I don't know, for a reason.
Oh, Adam Schiff talking. Yeah, we're not going to talk about.
People.
No, we're
a
talking
lot
about
of,
important stuff here. Zits.
Yes,
This
okay.
is what the country wants to hear.
I've done 3 hours on impeachment.
A lot of women are starting to shave all the peach fuzz off of their face.
That's not
because because there's a theory that the reason why men stay looking maybe more handsome as they age is because they're shaving a lot of the times.
That's not
and so
true.
it's like exfoliating your skin constantly.
Doesn't it have to do with women lose their estrogen, right?
I'm sure it has
It's not
some. I
a
don't
whole
think
lot
it's
more
real.
to do with. I mean, it's
Look
not
at this
that.
face.
It's not because you're, you
Look at this beautiful face. How often
Yeah.
have I been clean shaven? And
Yeah.
still
That's true.
so young.
Yeah, but you still have that you have that Pepto treatment that you put yourself through. Everybody's not going to do that. I mean, your diet, the way you're like Tom Brady. How is your diet lately? What do you we still in the golden age of Greg?
Yeah, that's going to continue for a very long time, at least a decade.
Okay, an age. Yeah, an age. Your age. So between 37 and 47. These
This
are
is
the
it.
magic. These are the magic golden years
Yeah,
for Greg
and then
Russ.
the end will come at 47.
You don't think that
Planning
the
on dying young?
47?
Yeah, deal with it.
Yeah. You got
Greg-
10 years. Better be nice to him now.
But Greg,
All
remember
right.
remember the first day of summer this year? You said how much you hate that. So you don't think that the golden age ends on the first day of summer in 2020?
Well, the golden age of Greg is always going to have its ups and downs. It's just when compared to the other decades, all in all, it's going to be the golden age, right?
And maybe the summer won't seem as horrible if you're in the golden age.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I expect next summer to be a nice summer.
Because can you give us any more examples of how the golden age of Greg has played out in the last week or so? Are you just like going like? Is this one of those things where you like, if I want to take off my shoes and run through the grass, I'm going to do it?
No. It's just been a lot of writing. I'm writing again.
Oh no.
Good. Good stuff.
It's good if it's not manic behavior.
It's not manic behavior.
Okay.
I'm working with Michael Albanese. I put
Yeah.
together a treatment.
A treatment?
To send over to him.
A skin treatment for those blackheads.
Hey, buddy, this is great.
Yeah,
He
jump
does like
off a
to-
cliff.
He does try to put his own voice in there. I'm like, this is my voice.
No,
You can
hold
work
on.
within that world.
Now wait a minute. So you're saying you can't collaborate?
I can collaborate,
You
but
can't
he's
be
also
told-
writing himself in as a character. It's like, wait,
So that's how it works.
wait a second.
He wants
Not
a
in this
job.
collaboration, Eric. You can't control this collab.
No, I'm going to control this collaboration. If if you're sending it to Michael Albanese, you obviously think he has connections that you don't have. And one way to really get him on your team is you write him a damn part. He's an actor.
I did
What,
write
you
him
dumb?
apart. I did write him apart.
Okay.
But then he doesn't get to write his own part, is all I'm saying.
Well, some actors do that. Orson
Well,
Welles.
then he's out.
If you wanted
He's out.
Orson
It's
Welles, he
me.
would always rewrite the whole thing.
Hey, buddy, no quid pro quo.
What's the other side of Albanese when he goes like,
When he talks about like jump in a ditch, he gets like real Jersey.
He texted me and apologized for not coming in the day he was supposed to come in.
Yeah, he was supposed to come in last Friday.
No, he said. Now I want to believe
overslept.
that's what I think, but he keeps saying that he forgot what day it was.
Yeah, he texted on Saturday and he said, I didn't realize that I meant Friday. Or
Right.
I thought it was Sunday.
Yeah, he thought it was. He had
The
his
thing
dates
is, I
mixed
don't
up. He was supposed to come in
care.
on Friday, and then he ended up getting mixed up with Saturday.
And then even us getting mixed up with Saturday, we're not on Saturday.
I know. He said he just had the wrong date.
Well, it doesn't matter to me because we just do the show and we don't really have guests usually anyway. So
I think he's going to come
for
on next
him to come
Wednesday.
in, he comes in. It's
Ooh.
fine. But I don't. If somebody, Greg, you seem to be good friends. What happened to Greg?
I'm still here.
Oh, you seem to be good friends with Michael Albanese. Tell him that it does not at all bother me that he was supposed to be on and for whatever reason didn't make it.
We
but
had
it
dead
does-
air
but
for
what
30
does-
minutes.
What does bother me is when people give me reasons why. I don't
Right.
get when I call in my biggest bosses. Let's see what my texts were to my two dads when I called in last week.
Hey, Dad. I mean, boss.
No. See if I can find it here. Just we're adults now. We're not kids. We don't work in fast food restaurants. This is my text. Thursday, 5:53 a.m. Sorry guys, I can't make it in today. I asked Jared to put together a best of that emphasizes funny material, and I suggested that Tim read the gas winner. If that's all right with you guys, good here. Hope all is okay. Is the response.
Jared didn't tell me that part. I guess Jared wanted
He
to do it
stole.
himself.
He
Wow.
stole
That's
it.
exactly what I
trying
wanted.
to
Those
steal
30
it.
seconds. I
you're
was
racking up that
counting down.
airtime?
I was like,
You keep a
yes,
tally
30
of it?
seconds
Yeah.
just for me.
I would have driven all the way in here for that 2 minutes, and then
I know
assumed
you would.
I didn't know that you were called off.
Yeah.
Because I never want to make that move because news could break, something could happen, Pete could have an idea. But what I'm saying is, don't, if you're an adult.
I learned
know
this
that-
from you, by the way.
Know that you're an adult. You're not 15. You're not calling into Publix. And
I have
say,
a runny
"Oh,
nose.
yeah."
I
Yeah.
don't know what it
You're an
is.
adult.
I think I'm going to
You know
go
what
to
I
the
did?
doctor.
I
At
can't make it into
Publix, I went to first half of my shift when I didn't work, and then I left and never came back.
Yeah,
I did that at McDonald's.
I did that at a restaurant that I worked at once. In the middle of the evening, I went out on my little 10-minute break, and I just said, I'm not going back.
Why don't you guys just take notes from me and never call out ever?
It's call in, by the way, not call
And you also
in.
did call out on Monday. Like, I know it wasn't
I
the
have
day of.
never
but
called
No,
out.
he's
That's a
never-
call out. That's
That
a
is
planned
hold
ahead
on.
call out.
That is
It's
a
planned
planned
ahead-
day off.
Look, I have to give it to Jared. Jared
I've
has
never-
never surprised
on the
With-
day of, but he
on the day
knew
of.
he wasn't going to be feeling well and needed to recover. This
That's
wasn't
fine,
just a vacation.
but that's fine. He gave us a heads up.
I-
But it's a call
had
out.
that date
all
on
out.
my schedule for 2 months. Thank you very much.
And also,
I had the other
and by the way,
dates
he's
this
also
month.
covered by. He's an hourly employee, right?
That's right.
And he's covered by, what do you call that? PTO? Or-
Yeah.
Cobra. No, I don't know.
He always says,
Cobra.
he always says PTO, which is a new one on me. They say it around here.
Yeah, paid time
Paid
off.
time
Paid
off.
time off. So he has these days he's allowed to take anyway. So you're completely in the clear. For me, at 55 years old, I'm not going to call Pete Spriggs and go, I don't feel good. And hey,
I'm
I
so
really
sorry.
wanna
I
be
can't
there."
make it
Look,
today. I'm
look,
just not feeling well.
Hey, here's
I
the
think
deal.
I'm gonna go to the doctor.
Here's the
And
deal.
then give a groan so
I'm
we know
not-
your stomach's hurting.
No. Here's the deal.
Eric.
I'm not coming in.
It hurts so bad.
That's what I sounded like when I was giving birth to Pete. Just like that.
That's what Pete does to people.
Oh,
Pete, I'm giving birth.
That's what Pete Buttigieg sounds like
Hey, why do you have to do? You
when
just
he's running.
know
When he's running.
there is no way.
You didn't let me finish.
You know what? Pete Buttigieg doesn't like college football, and I'm outraged.
That's not true.
I know. That's the whole thing. Pete,
That's
No, that's
cool. I don't
great.
like
A
college
smart
no,
man.
No, what he's saying is he doesn't like the fact that the players don't get paid. But the headline is Buttigieg doesn't like college football.
Who cares if he didn't? You're putting your self-worth on children.
Yeah, but
These
he's
people
from
get
South
so
Bend,
wrapped
Greg.
up in it.
He's from
Children.
South Bend. That's
They're
the
mad.
home of Notre
They're
Dame.
watching. I don't care. It's Notre Dame. He's watching children. These people watch children play football, and then they cry if the team loses.
Well, they
It's
also
weird.
watch children address the UN.
You know what,
What
it's
else
like?
is at South Bend besides
You know-
Notre Dame?
You know what it's like to be a fan of a team.
I don't anymore.
Oh, I know you don't.
Allegiances are
I know
gone.
you don't. And it's like I know.
And I've
somewhere,
never been freer.
Somewhere in the back of his mind, he's got to be thinking, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have jumped off that Braves bandwagon." How are you doing, English Nick?
You know, I found that you know this. I've jumped on some sports bandwagons over
Yeah.
the last couple of years. I've really gotten into it more later in life.
I know you're really enjoying it.
later in my life, I should say.
My understanding is that I'm going to get an exclusive interview with the great Trey Young.
Oh, yeah.
Before the season starts. Now, here's the thing. I told them to tell him and the Hawks organization that this isn't a show where I do a 10-minute interview and we just play it. It's not going to be like that. I will interview him, and the best parts I'll roll out over time.
Yeah, bring him in
It's
for the
even better.
podcast.
I'd love to bring him in. I don't know if he's going to be available for that. I don't think he really knows, what he must be aware of the fact that there's a show in Atlanta and it's really popular and the host is a big fan.
Probably not.
But I think he knows because the organizations.
Oh.
Goofy
they
old
do it.
right-winger.
They're always, they're always in organizations like that. Like, hey, pay attention to this guy. He might be able to sell a few tickets.
Yeah.
And he sees himself as the face of the franchise, so he's willing to do. Like I was willing to get in that bucket. When you're when you're the face of the franchise, you got to go above and
You
beyond.
jump in the bucket.
Like we're having another lunch today for the show. Are you going to join us?
I am.
Awesome.
I've got all my ducks in a row. Let's do it.
Tim Andrews saying, I can't wait. Yesterday, he thought it was yesterday. He got all dressed up.
Yeah, he did.
And he's like, oh, I thought we were going to go.
Collared shirt.
Yeah, but today the dogs have to
button
go out.
No, he can't get out of this. This guy paid $2,000.
Although
to
I
lunch
did
with
get a
us.
case of food poisoning last night. One of those quick bouts, where you eat something, 30 minutes later your abdomen
That
is.
can't be.
Oh,
No,
it was.
It's something else. It's something else. If unless it's muscular or something like that, there's food cannot have that.
What was it,
effect.
Nick?
I read up on this. They say if you get food poisoning, it can happen anywhere between 30 minutes to 6 hours after you eat the food. It was a chicken salad sandwich from a local deli that had been prepared earlier.
Yeah.
I brought this up on one topic on this last episode.
Might have
by
just
the way.
grossed you
If-
out,
If,
but
if you ever want to listen, what a great podcast. I
Yeah.
drank some pomegranate juice and immediately threw it back up. I don't know what was in there, but
First
my
of all,
body knew
I know what was
immediately.
in there. Pomegranate juice.
But I had been drinking it before.
But you're not supposed to guzzle that stuff.
No,
You're
that-
supposed to
yes,
sip that
I
stuff.
did. It's just the pomegranate juice. It's not from it's from concentrate. but it's not
No, what I'm
concentrate.
saying is even it doesn't matter what it is. That stuff is heavy. You can't just.
I
gulp
also
it
just
down.
sipped a little bit of it and immediately. My
But I
body
say
didn't
what
take
happened
to it.
then is your body didn't take to it, but it's not poisoning in that sense.
Yeah.
It's just that the flavors and stuff grossed you out and it made you
Well,
vomit
here's what happened.
in your stomach.
But my stomach got really tight. My abdomen was hurting. I was dizzy. I was sweating.
Yeah.
And then about an hour and a half after the actual fact, maybe 2 hours, it all came back up.
Hey, you know what? Already today we've talked about zits, blackheads, and vomiting, and I still can't keep Tim Andrews interested. It's amazing to me.
What do you mean
Zits?
interested?
I thought he loved bodily things.
I'm interested.
He reads during the
All
podcast.
right, let's get to
30.
farts.
He doesn't
I'm
take the
reading
pod-
Eric Erickson's
He
tweet.
doesn't take the podcast 30 seriously.
Yes, I
He
do.
thinks, take it or leave it.
It's a workshop.
He does. He's always multitasking. He's got his computer going with Twitter normally. He's doing his doodling.
It is impressive
his
how much he
phone's
can do.
open.
He is a multitasking
Not
machine.
impressive.
It is
it's
impressive.
an example of the fact that he can't just
Called it
concentrate on
ADD.
one thing. Yeah.
Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim.
Throw an H in there.
Yes.
See, I got him back. I brought him back.
That was from me.
I'm still fixated on Autumn's watermelon video.
Yeah.
That's why I have my keys over here when Tim begins to wander. Hey,
shiny things.
Jared can't even hear you if he's looking at something.
No, that is true. If Jared starts reading and I'm talking to him, he can't hear. Like his brain only goes into the reading and he can't hear. I can say, if there's a fire, you better get out of here.
Well, you know, it's the way you focus on things. You
Yeah.
try to focus on one thing at a time. As a man, that's what we do. We focus on one thing at a time.
As a man, that's what we do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the comedy stylings of Jared Yamamoto. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming out to the ha hut.
Even my feminine side was triggered by that statement. As a man, look, I can
As
do
a
that
man,
as
that's what I do. I don't pay attention to anything else. I can only do
You know
one
how
thing
men
at a time.
are. Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How many people here? How many people drink water? Well, raise your hand if you ever drank water before. Hey, yeah.
Water.
Boy, water. That's
H2O.
Water, that's something, huh? That's my whole act. I just ask questions. And then when people I got this guy.
Got the fake laugh coming out.
So, have you ever been to West Georgia?
I have.
I swear, if I had the nads, I would go up, I would do a whole act where I just asked questions for hands, and then all I ever said was, that's something, ain't it?
Yeah, cups filled with water, right? I mean,
how many people here have ever used the bathroom?
Oh,
Are you two married? Are you married? Are you married?
Are you married?
Wow, ain't that something?
Oh, boy.
Wow, they're married. Wow.
You must really be in love.
Yeah.
give those guys a
anybody
round
here?
of applause
Yeah.
for being married.
How many people's dogs and cats get along at the same time?
How many people here have ever?
Ours does.
Yeah. How many people here? Own dogs? Huh?
We got one.
How many people own cats in here? Huh? Yeah. It seems like people own dogs and cats. That's something. Ain't
What
it?
if we got both?
That's something, ain't it?
I got a fish.
How many people here have hit themselves in the head with a frying pan because they were angry they fell asleep on the couch and woke up at 3 a.m.? Show's over. Show's done.
Well, wait a minute. Only if Greg Russ is out there somewhere. That's my way of finding out if Greg Russ is in my audience.
How many of you out there put clothespins on your genitals to punish yourself? Round of applause.
Don't be shy.
Man, oh man.
Works. It works.
What is that whole thing about? People feel bad about who they are, and they put clothespins on
Well, if you
their...
listen to one topic, our fetish episode kind of delves into that.
It usually comes from discipline.
By
from
the
your
way, I
parent.
didn't listen to that, but
Hang on,
hold on. I want to ask the question here. It seems to me like you're cheating. One topic, but then you bring in fetish, which is then we could talk about a bunch of different
But
fetishes.
isn't the topic fetish?
Yeah, the topic.
They're cheating.
That's not cheating. How's that cheating?
How many different fetishes did you talk about on one topic?
What's the topic called? Fetishes.
Yeah, you're cheating.
That's not
No.
cheating.
If we named the topic spanking and then talked about different fetishes,
one topic.
that's cheating. But
No.
we had an umbrella of fetish.
Do you
We
have
talked
one?
about different fetishes.
Do you have one on spanking? Because that one I'd listen to.
Hang on, Greg and Olin, did you talk about your own personal fetishes?
I mean, it was kind of disappointing on my end. I don't know. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Come on, you have to have
Because
tons
you've got to
of
have
them.
experience
No,
to really talk about
I
it.
don't know. I'm trying to think of like what you think of fetishes. I just know what I like and I don't like, but I don't have any kind of thing
Well,
like
you
I
know,
want to be in a hot air balloon with a.
You don't have a paraphilia.
What's that?
That's a fetish.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
What we also
psychology
mentioned
term.
were kinks, because fetish is kind of a hard line of I cannot
Get off without this.
without one specific thing.
Yeah,
you
like
have
cheese.
to be wearing rabbit ears
And
or
have
it's
a
not
wood-
going to get me there.
Have a wooden spoon in your hand.
Whatever.
Yes.
But then there's kinks that might be just, I guess, a little outside of some spectrum
So hold
of
on.
sex.
Did we get into kinks when the one topic was supposed to be fetish?
Oh.
Oh,
All right,
This
that's
show is a complete sham.
well.
You're right.
Go
we should
judge
just
for
quit.
yourself. Listen to one topic and make a decision.
I can't
Power
do
up.
it unless I'm watching Sesame Street at the same time.
Oh, no.
Hey, Bert.
That's right.
Oh, I hope there's a pigeon in this.
That was Ernie.
I'm still amazed. I just never got over I still have a kind of a teenage mentality. I'm teenage from when I was a teenager. If you're a teenager now, you've seen everything
You're saying
under the sun.
sexually you have a teenage mentality?
Well, just in the sense that I've never gotten over the fact that I get to do it. Like
I'm an adult. I write Pete adult emails, except for when I'm talking about sex. Then I go back to being a teenager.
Well, no, I'm just saying. To me, it's just like, wow.
It is pretty special.
It's cool.
It is pretty
but
special.
It doesn't ratchet up to the point. Well, now I've done it so many times. I need hydraulics involved. Or some sort of, you pretend, I'll pretend I'm the guy from Amazon. And
Ding dong, pizza's here.
I'm like, I got to do this again?
That's a nice thing, though, that happens.
Didn't we just do this last week? Didn't we
There's
just
that.
do this?
There's certainly that.
Didn't we do this
Hold
year?
on. Tim and Greg, their fetish is no sex.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, in the middle of it, if I start thinking about the fact I'm doing it, then there's panic. It's like, oh, no.
God.
How did I get here?
Yeah.
Now, don't screw it up.
Yeah, I know. She seems to be. It's like when I used to do comedy. I wouldn't have too many great nights on stage, but when I get up there and the first few things would get big laughs, I would get more panicked. Like, oh no, they expected to be funny for another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I got to keep this up.
Like, that was it. You should have walked off stage. Like, that was it.
And then if it goes more than 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, God, I'm out of breath. This sucks. I'm almost 50, and I am an out-of-shape smoker. What a disappointment.
Did you see that?
I'll tell you what, there is a learning thing as you get older where there's that one night where you decide, oh, yeah, I'm an animal. Then you realize, no, I'm really not anymore.
No.
I'm like, I think I'm going to create something that's going to be special and wonderful, and I create a pool of sweat and a lot of breathing.
Am I really worse at this than I was 20 years ago?
Yes. That can't be fun.
That's why you go to hookers. They don't care.
I thought you.
They still care. I mean,
supposed
they
to-
like
but
it if
who
it's
cares?
over faster, but they're still judging you.
No, they're used
that
to-
judgment's still there.
Yeah, they're used to older
well,
men, so they know how to slow
Tell
you
your
down
hooker
and make
buddies.
it last a little
They're
bit
supposed to
longer.
go the David Lynch route.
What's that?
Every time there's sex in Twin Peaks season 3, the guy's just laying down.
That's perfect.
What is that? Is that cowboy? Right? Is it or revert?
Cowgirl.
That's just on top.
No, it's cowgirl because if you turn it around,
So
it's
you're
called
saying
reverse
that-
cowgirl.
The guy's on his back. No, the guy's
so
on his
mine
back.
would be gay, right? Then cowboy would be gay.
Well, just say cowgirl, yeah.
Well, it
No.
Well, I
depends
wanna
on
say
you.
cowboy.
It's not cowgirl unless you're bucking around. Then
That's
it's
right.
just on top.
Well, I've seen cowboys riding, a lazy calf.
Taking me back to dairy farming days now.
So the reverse thing is obviously.
I think
her
the
facing
reverse.
away,
I
yeah.
think that's the term, reverse cowgirl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
she's
that
facing away from
so
you.
that makes sense that the other way would be cowgirl, but no one says that. You just say like on
She's
top.
on top, yeah.
Yeah.
Missionary.
I was trying to use a word that wouldn't be, be somewhat family friendly.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, boy, you can still say cowboy. You can't say Indians, but you can still say cowboy, right?
Yeah.
Let's play
Although-
cowboy and first peoples.
Well, what else could we call these missionary? What, crawling between the trenches in World War I? Is that what you would like to call that position?
Mission.
Rolling between- What?
I don't.
No. You're crawling through the
moving-
trench, and
Greg
I'm
lost
the
me there.
trench.
Crawling. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, at that point you're humping the trench. There's
Can
no
I be the
crawling.
trench?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm irreligious, so I call the missionary position
I
the
mean-
NGO.
That's right. You don't
Find
want
the
to.
foxhole.
There might be a point where the bullets start
Foxhole.
coming over her head. You know what I'm saying?
And then cowgirls, I'm feeling lazy. That's the
Yeah,
band.
Oh,
that's
that's the
the
best.
point that I'm trying to make. Whatever you
But you
call
know
it,
what?
and when you get older and out of breath easier, you're supposed to go for that because women they still have energy.
It's not that. That's
They tend
sometimes
to take
better.
care of themselves, huh?
It's better to be cowgirl.
Well, for you,
sometimes.
because you're in charge and you're that kind of person. But another woman might feel differently.
We need a
No,
new
'cause
name
there's
for doggy.
access.
We need a new name for doggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is gross.
Yeah.
because it reminds you of like bestiality. Nobody wants to be in that mindset.
And just being an adult and saying like doggy.
Well,
like,
why does it have to be
doggy.
doggy? There's a lot of four-legged animals, so why can't it just be, kitty or
Depending on the woman, it
or
could be
Ooh,
zebra.
humping the
Could be
kitty.
what?
sheepy.
Hippo.
Hippo.
Or the
Oh,
guy.
she's
or
a
the guy.
hungry hippo.
Well, I mean, what could it be? The
Can you just
hungry
say
hippo.
from? Can you say behind, like from behind, without it being like your butt stuff?
Jared, what would you say?
Hang on, remember this. This is a
is
guy who's been
interesting.
oiled up in
Tuesday.
a field for 3 days on drugs, doing lots of it.
The end of the week.
Yeah, he calls it.
Every other day. is different positions
Hey,
for
Jared's
him.
30
so
years old. You know,
Monday is trenches and humping the trench. Humping the trench.
Trench warfare. Finding the foxhole.
Trench warfare is the best.
He's at that age. He's at that age when you're in a relationship where anything sparks sex. You know, brushing your teeth and it doesn't.
Look at that
doesn't
toothbrush
matter,
in your
you know,
mouth.
You know, then you get older. You know, you've been married forever. Oh, we got to make a date.
Yeah.
To put the kids to bed so that we can have sex.
That's romantic.
Well, there's just stuff that gets in the way. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick.
We're gonna have sex on Thursday at 2:30 p.m. It's hot.
Yeah, I can never do that. When people,
I'm gonna change my underwear especially for
Afternoon delights.
I'm never a fan of scheduled sex. Any kind of
No, it's gotta be
scheduled.
natural.
Because it's just
Organically, it's gotta happen.
Come on. iCal update? Get a 30-minute warning? 30 minutes till sex.
It has to feel like
15 minutes till sex.
I've scheduled your sexual appointment with your ex-wife at 2:30 p.m. on Thursday.
She's only got 10 minutes because the kids are ready to be picked up from the dentist.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the deal. Sometimes you can't. You have to schedule
So
it or it ain't gonna happen.
Let's celebrate this Jared, who's still in that era where
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
Just all
So-
the
That's
time.
the great thing
This
about-
guy's having sex constantly.
Well, that's the great thing about living and not having kids and being young. And
How
you know-
many days a week,
not
Jared,
gonna
on
last long.
average?
I don't know, probably 3 or 4.
Hey,
At least.
that's a lot, mate.
How many of those are drunk?
Tim's sleeping.
Just snorted.
Actually, not that often, believe it or not.
No, I bet
No,
they
that's
live
not
together.
often. No.
I was saying, how many of them are drunk?
Yeah, I'm saying not that often.
They live together.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're at that
I mean-
age.
Yeah, but
where,
they're drinking
You know,
all
When
the
we,
time.
when we go to the bar together, we're going home together.
Yeah.
Like we've already, we've explored that option.
Let's go ahead and dig that trench.
You wanna find my foxhole?
Here comes the gas canister.
J-Rad and
General
Drunk
J-Rad.
Uh-oh, mustard gas.
Uh-oh.
We should have ordered that an appetizer.
Private Tina.
So if we're following this logic, so World War II, when Germany just went around the trenches, that could be skipping missionary to get behind. So that you could call it
start from
blitzkrieg.
behind.
So the
Call
new
it
position's
blitzkrieg.
called blitzkrieg.
Blitzkrieg.
There you go.
All right, we got to wrap. I don't know why you're not starting the music. We gotta wrap
Oh,
this
wow,
up.
it is 32.
We
We guess we had to make up some time. That's why.
Hey, did you guys hear about Trump in Ukraine?
No, I haven't heard anything about it.
No.
Look into it.
We'll cover it tomorrow. What is that?
Oh, I was cutting myself while you were.
What did you have on your arm, Greg?
One
did you have on
topic.
your
It's a
arm?
new one
I
topic.
showed Autumn how to properly do it. It says proper cut line, and
Oh.
it's this way, not this way.
Fine. God, I hope kids aren't listening or watching or.
I rode the train with this.
I cut my arm because of Greg.
There it is. You rode the train with that. Just
Bones
another
in it.
example of the
Golden age!
The golden age of Greg.
And then the
Give
flies
us more
came.
Pepto.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Finish off
And
the
there's
bottle.
ants.
Autumn.
You can explain that to your daughter.
Upset that we're talking about breaking news of impeachment on WSB.
I'm not upset.
But
I'm
then-
not upset.
But then okay with cutting
Just
yourself.
bored.
All right. You shouldn't be bored. This is your country, too, you know.
I love it. I love you, Eric.
I love
You're
you.
So tall.
So tall, so handsome. Used to be handsome. Handsome-ish.
Touch your face like this.
Handsome-ass. All right, goodbye. Get out of here. Leave me alone.
Georg. Georg. I'll touch your cheek like this with the back of my knuckles.
You know what Georg is, right?
That's
As
so
soft as
sexy.
possible. You got to do
Yeah.
as soft
Georg?
as possible.
Yeah, Georg, the golden age of Greg. Georg.
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 I thought that was my last August.
Georg.
It's funny because it has the same amount of letters as Greg, too. It starts with a G and ends with a G.
Yeah, well, if it were Nick, it'd be gay on. So there you go. Suck on that.
All right, enough of this talk.
Jesus.
What's your favorite thing? Rhymes with Nick.
Nah, yeah. All right, you know
Timmy.
what? You people, you just drag this great show.
Into the
good
trenches.
Have you seen?
Back to the
Yeah.
trenches.
Have you seen?
We did what was needed.
Have I seen what?
I can't wait for that Christmas Day break.
Have you seen what's happening with
In
our
the
audience?
trenches.
We're expanding like crazy, and you
Youngins?
people,
Youngins?
our huge audience is getting huger, and you people want to drag this
Yeah,
this
but-
this jewel down into the mud.
But most of that huge audience, I don't think, tune into this part of the day.
You
don't think so?
Not the majority. Come on.
They hear us on podcast, and we have like
The
9
podcasters-
billion people.
The podcast fans know exactly what they're getting.
in the first 2 minutes of Rush's show today, he said nothing burger 3 times.
Nothing burger?
Yeah.
As in a meatless burger?
Yeah.
no,
Nothing burger.
no, forget it. All right.
Forget it.
All right.
Stupid.
I'm not going to explain everything.
No.